Okay, going to be talking a little bit about your niche. So kind of like how to do this. There's going to be probably a couple different videos because I feel like I could talk for a while about this and sometimes get a little bit scattered when I'm talking about it. So I will try to be as focused as possible. So niching down for your clientele. So this is just kind of like thinking of it as a funnel, big funnel up here, trying to niche down to get to a smaller population. So we're not talking to everyone in the entire world up here, and just kind of like funneling it down. So if you're a licensed mental health professional, of course, we are not talking to everyone in the world because we can only work with a certain type of people based on our license. So maybe we're just talking to people in Kentucky, and that's the top of the funnel. But that's still a lot of people, and we probably don't do our best work with all the people of Kentucky. So we want to narrow that down. So maybe we're like, well, we only want to work with people who identify as men. And we only want to do in-person work. So that kind of funnels it down to men, people that identify as men that live, 15 miles outside of Louisville, so they can drive to my office and see me in person. But that's still a lot of people. So we want to continue to narrow that down smaller and smaller through our niche and through our funnel. So when we're putting out things or we're talking to people about the work that we do, we're as clear as possible about what type of referrals we would like, or what type of people we do our best work with. So you're doing this to call in your ideal audience or your ideal clientele. And it's also helpful for you because if you don't know who you're talking to, how do you know like what to talk about or what type of content to create or what type of trainings to do or what type of, different EMDR or different other training, specializations to do. So spending some time focusing on this and envisioning your audience will really help you have a little bit more clarity on all of those other aspects. So don't really remember what I said in the last video, but just reminding everyone that like a niche is targeting kind of your marketing strategies. But again, it's also helpful for you to know like next steps for your practice or your trainings, but targeting for your marketing and having all of that centered around a specific problem or a specific specialization that, this is just kind of your area of expertise. You kind of would not go to like a generalist PCP doctor expecting them to, fix your broken leg. Like you'd go to an orthopedic doctor, or you wouldn't go see a dermatologist to deliver your baby. So there's lots of different specializations and other healthcare, and they, very much niche down in their population. So there's a little bit of that mentality with us. So for us, if I'm a female struggling with postpartum depression, I'm not gonna go, or I probably wouldn't be the best fit for a therapist who works with men struggling with addiction issues. Sure, that therapist that works with men and typically in the addiction field probably would be able to be a decent or pretty good therapist for me. But I would imagine a provider who specializes in perinatal mental health or has specific trainings or works in different modalities that really cater to postpartum depression is really going to be able to meet, my needs quicker. So therapists don't historically do the best job at marketing in general because of all certain things it brings up for us. So niching down can sometimes be helpful in that. But also sometimes brings up some things for us that makes it tricky. So clarifying that funnel, we don't expect you to get to the end of the funnel and be like, this is my niche and this is who I want to work with for the rest of my life, like to know that answer right away, because it can kind of take some time. So for example, mine's kind of like evolved and shifted throughout my years in practice. It started really broad of just kind of like thinking through individuals that I enjoy working with and individuals I worked with in the past, and some of that being individuals I don't want to continue working with. So I've worked with kids and adolescents in the past for years, and some of that intentionality and honing that in is being able to know that working with kids and adolescents does not fill me up for whatever reason. Does not mean that I'm not a good provider for them, does not mean that I cannot see them. It just means that that's not something that I'm wanting to focus my energy on. And then of course for my own private practice, I don't accept individuals that are 18 or younger, and that's just a decision I've made. But that doesn't mean everyone has to make that if you have a niche. So my niche is landed in adults. Of course, adults is still a very broad thing. I do work with people across the state of Kentucky since I do online services, so that's way broader than just the Louisville population. So I'm needing to kind of hone that down. So throughout the years, it's looked a little bit different in the terminology that I use, but essentially what I've landed in on for right now and probably for the foreseeable future, seeing that flexibility in there, that these things can shift and change, but you do want to put in that kind of upfront intentionality so you're not like bopping around all the time, because it can get kind of chaotic in your head, but also for your referral sources to keep up with the type of people that you work with. But for right now, pretty solid and pretty stable and pretty able to articulate and people identify me as working with young professionals who are struggling with emotional suppression, with perfectionism, with difficulties in aligning with expectations that have been placed on them versus what they feel like they're accomplishing. So a lot of those individuals who feel really lost inside don't have a space to share that. So to other people in their lives, they look like they've got their shit together. So those are the people that I kind of speak to on my website. Those are the type of people that I like to be in front of and talking, just so they can know about my services. So the goal is to have about 60% of your caseload look like that niche, and the other part to be filled with, generalist or kind of related niches. So there's a lot of elder adults or emerging adults who are also, battling the perfectionism and the expectations and the emotional suppression. So that does not mean that my entire caseload is young professionals. I do see individuals who are 18 and individuals who are 60 who, are having those similar patterns in their life still. It just means that when I'm writing content, when I'm talking to people, I'm going to cater that towards the young professional and those specific issues or struggles that are coming at them from work, from those life stages. But you can still see other people, of course. Having a really specific image in your head about who your ideal client is will also allow you to articulate more clearly across all fronts who you do your best work with and who your ideal client is and how you can relate to them, recognizing that there is going to be a lot of overlap again between various people and various symptoms. So that's a lot of the fears behind like niching down, is that you're excluding people, which naturally you are. But there's some of that, like it's helpful to do that. We know exactly what we want when we go to Lowe's. We don't go to Lowe's looking for a new top that we want to wear to a party. Like, they've done a very good job at marketing and branding and niching down their population and or relaying to us, hey, when you come here, this is what to expect and this is what you're going to get. We don't go into Lowe's and be like, oh my God, you don't have like prom dresses and like clothes and different things like that. Like, we just kind of know. So we want that mentality, of course, on a much smaller scale for our practices. We want people to land on our page and very clearly be able to get the message about what we do, who we do it with, how much we charge, what insurances we take, like laying it all out very clearly, opposed to being in the space of like, hi, I'm Shannon, I'm a therapist, I can work with anyone in the state of Kentucky around these 90 issues. Because that can be kind of overwhelming and it can be hard for a prospective client to find themselves in that list, even if they are struggling with one of those 90 issues that you've listed. it still can be difficult to kind of like sort through all of that and like apply it. Where if I landed on your website and you very clearly were talking and using the words that I kind of use when I'm talking to my friends about what's going on with me, it's much more likely that I'm going to reach out to you to inquire about services. But we'll probably go a bit more into like how to call in your ideal client and specific kind of like, I don't know, things to put on your website or your directory listings, or maybe things not to do in some future videos. I don't want to make this one go too long because, like I said, I could just keep talking. But yeah, I don't know. That's just some general information about like how to niche. Yeah, you don't have to, of course, but if it is something that you're interested in and you're like still a little bit hesitant on, of course, email me, we can chat about it, but just kind of think about it. Be a little intentional on trying a couple things on. You don't have to make any like changes. You don't have to like stop seeing clients that are no longer in this niche and like refer them out to other people. It just means like you're going to take some time to intentionally think about like, who do you enjoy working with? Who do you do your best work with? What are some commonalities between the people in your caseload right now that really fill you up? And just spending some time thinking about that.